Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. In this video I'm just going to have a look at a couple of things that have opened recently. Some possible warning shots, just about vigilance and the sort of things that can be going wrong right under your nose and you miss them. Complacency is the orchid killer, basically. Anyway, this is a no ID Tumnia hybrid and it's a beauty. It's absolutely beautiful. Good spike, relatively young plant, but coming on, it's pushing out some nice roots, lovely healthy fans, but not a big plant. But what's worth remembering with Tumnias is they mature fast. So if you buy some from an orchid nursery and they look like quite young, immature plants, they can get to flowering size very quickly. I mean, literally from seedlings up to blooming can be easily less than 3 years, 2.5 years. They're quick, and that makes them really good in my book. You know, none of this waiting 6 or 7 years for your first bloom. They work quite quickly. That one over there is just starting to go over. I've got quite a few Tumnias, and there's a good reason. Firstly, I love the plants. They're all mounted, and they do well on their mounts. Okay, that's most times a daily chore, certainly not in the winter time, but it's geared up to how quickly they dry out, and on a mount that can be daily. Now at the moment we've had some dull weather, so at the moment it's every other day. I give them a chance to dry thoroughly. If that moss doesn't go crispy, it's not dry and it doesn't get watered. So I let them thoroughly dry in between each watering, and if it takes 2 days in the summer, so be it. Okay, this other one here is the species. This is the one that got me an award, and the little branches are starting to open now, which gives the flower spike a bit more depth rather than just a sort of single spike. Lovely plant. I'll put pop-up names on because basically if you want to see the plant that goes with that bloom, you've got to come right over here. It's a long spike basically. So Tumnias, love them. This peasant orchid over here, just a store-bought Phalaenopsis, has just started to go over. It's been in bloom a long time, but it was in bloom when I got it, so I don't really know how long those blooms have lasted. The one up the back's still pushing on nicely. It's got an extension there with a new bud on the end. Now I'm a bit hard line with Phalaenopsis. Because these are store-bought, they are staked skywards, which I don't personally like, but I understand that for transport purposes and that, long dangly arching spikes are just not a good, not a good deal for a vendor, a seller. But I don't like them like that. So the first chance I get, I take the spike off. I know you say, oh, if you cut it back a bit, it might branch, but I just don't like the look of a branched Phalaenopsis spike. Unless it happens to have several at once, in which case it looks like a bush of flowers, which is relatively attractive. But being a store-bought plant, I don't know how it was looked after. It was probably force-grown in a nursery under absolutely perfect conditions to get those spikes. So as soon as the initial spike is going over, I take the spike right off. I give the plant a chance to settle down. That usually coincides with getting it out of the pot, unless I thought that the media was breaking down, in which case it comes out of the pot straight away. And that brings me on to another subject in a minute, but we'll get there in a minute. My Prosthetia green hornet is still doing well, and these spikes have a habit of sort of extending, so they can last quite a while. These two have been out a while now. They're showing no signs of going over, and the scent from that, some people don't like it, but I love it. It's heavenly. What else have we got? This is my old-fashioned Odontoglossum that's just opening. Just literally this bud started to open yesterday afternoon. It's not fully open yet, but it will be soon. The colour is lovely. It's just what I was hoping for. So I'm pleased with that one. Bud up here got munched. Yeah, bugs. We all have them. Bugs and beasties. Keep your eyes out. That one's doing well up the back there. The plant isn't. The plant's appalling. Look, no leaves, back bulbs. One leaf, brown. It's going over. But round the other side of the plant, it's pushing out its new growths. So, you know, this may be a spike that was a last resort, the plant throwing out every little bit of effort to finally perpetuate its species, except for it's not a species, it's a hybrid. What else have we got? That one's just opened up the back there. That's my Psychopsis, that's Papilio, which is one of the species, and it's the alba form. So no reds, just lovely yellows and creams. Miltonia Sunset, that's just starting to go over there. That bottom flower is just keeling over. Again, it was bought in bloom. If you buy one in bloom, you don't know how long your flowers are going to last. But nonetheless, it's lasted quite well. The Processia radiata, 2 spikes, new plant for me, and very, very scented. A sort of sweet, honeyish type of smell. Unfortunately, it's in competition with the green hornet over the other side, so they're both at it together, shall we say. The Ascocenda, which is now called Vanda because of the hybridization process. Ascocentrums have been reclassified, and Ascocenda is a hybrid between a Vanda and an Ascocentrum. Well, if Ascocentrum becomes Vanda, a Vanda crossed with a Vanda, I'm sorry, is just a Vanda. But whatever it's called, it's lovely. It's got 2 spikes and a good strong plant. That was bought for me by my daughter and greatly appreciated. Right, on to some conundrums and warnings. I thought I'd show you that. I got that, one of the orchid nurseries, orchid nursery called Ratcliffe's, world famous for its Paphiopedilum hybrids, went down, basically. It went under. And the guy who was involved with it had lots of plants left over. He couldn't find a trader to bulk buy, so he basically donated a large number of plants to one of the orchid societies I go to. Their meeting was yesterday. So what they did is everybody got a ticket with a number on, and then you went up to the table and found the plant with your number on, and that was the plant you took away. So it was like a freebie. It's a Brassia cross. It's got Vericosa in it, which is not a giant Brassia because some of them are absolutely enormous. But nonetheless, it's trying to get out of its pot. Brassias or Brassia types have a habit of trying to climb. There's quite a few hybrids involved that you can often find, like you can get a Miltassia, which is a Miltonia crossed with a Brassia, and they are even worse at trying to get out of the pot because they both like to climb. But this one has not only climbed, but something's had a go at its nice new roots and taken the tips off. Now that something could still be in the pot. So sometime today it's coming out of its pot and getting cleaned off, thoroughly washed off, make sure it's clean, and then put in some new media. A little tip, if you get an orchid that does that round the top of the pot, it's because the roots have dipped their toe in the media and said, "No, I'm not so sure about that, I think I'll stay out." Because under natural circumstances they grab hold of wherever they were growing. It's an epiphyte. But when you see an awful lot of the roots not going down in the media, it normally means the media is wrong. Now that can often mean it's breaking down, it's a bit acidic, and as I said, it puts its toe in there and says, "No, I think I'll stay out here in the air where it's clean." So often a tip. And while we're on that subject, I know a lot of you don't like it, but I do a water through process. My poor little RO unit would not keep up with this number of plants, many of which are mounted and need watering every day. I could not produce enough RO water to keep up. It's not possible. So for nothing other than practical reasons, I do something which many will deem silly. I just can't keep up with watering all those plants and all those mounts with my little RO unit. So I fill up this thing here with nice clean RO water. It's not clean at the moment because it's just been used. And I put my fertiliser in. I start with either a weak solution or no fertiliser at all and water some plants, and then I add a bit more fertiliser to move on to different types, and then up to its strongest setting and water the rest of them. That's how I work. In addition to that, I have a bucket with a lid on to keep the algae out, and that gets used to dunk my Vandas. That's quite a strong feed in there at this time of year. I also use it for my Phalaenopsis, because again they are high feeders. Now some of my Phalaenopsis are mounted, so they just get water poured over them and the moss gets wet. But some of them are in pots in traditional media, and in amongst those are some guilty parties. I'll tell you why in a minute. Right, back to the bowl. If you're pouring water through your pots, anything that's in that pot is liable to get washed through into the water, and then it's going to pour into the next pot, and then it's going to pour into the next pot until it runs out, and I top it up with some clean stuff. This works okay for me. Okay, I don't believe I've got any virus plants, I don't get moulds and rots, and I've got an air cleaner that keeps all the pathogens right down to their minimum level. So I'm happy to do this. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but it's what I do, you know. So don't always do as somebody says, think about your own environment. It works for me, starting with pure water, RO water. Right, this is a pH meter. I don't check my pH very often because I'm starting with RO water that comes out with a reading on here of about 6.7, 6.8. So it's very, very close to the magic central point of 7. Give it a shake. Always give it a shake. Now that's heading down towards the 6 mark. It says 6.3. I doubt if the camera can pick it up. 6.2. It's heading towards 6. pH is a log scale. The difference between 6 and 7 is quite dramatic. If you get down lower than 6 and head towards 5, you're in trouble. That is not good water for orchids. See, that's decided at 6.1. Given that this little unit is not that accurate, and it's probably out by 0.1 or 0.2, certainly no more, that could even be slightly lower than 6. And given that that water was clean not that long ago, probably only 2 days ago, but then I did do quite a massive watering yesterday morning, so lots of my pots had this water poured through them back into the bowl. So in amongst those pots are some pretty highly acidic media, and I've got to sort them out and get them repotted because it's obviously breaking down. But what's far more worrying is this little bucket here, which gets topped up quite frequently. That is not funny. That is well below 6. It's currently reading at 5.6, 5.7. That is orchid root killer. Trust me, that is far, far too low for pH. And here is a conundrum. Let's put the gadget away. That bucket is for my Vandas mainly. They are bare rooted in the main. Even that one up there in the basket hasn't got any media in it. Bare rooted. Forget the Spanish moss, that's a bare rooted Vanda, the moss comes off. Up here, bare rooted Vanda. Where the hell is that pH coming from? Bearing in mind it started off a little below 7, how the hell has it got like that in such a short time? Guilty party number 1. Now this is my Phalaenopsis sweet memory. It hasn't been repotted. What's it in? That's got some bark on the top to make it look pretty, because it actually went to a show and somebody put some bark on the top of it. But down in there is a peaty, coconutty type media. It's breaking down and it's turning highly acidic. And I'm pouring water through that into my bucket. And it's turned the whole lot acidic. It's not funny. That's got to be changed now. Nothing's getting watered today till I've done this. It's serious. I'm not mucking about. And in behind here are a couple of other Phalaenopsis that are actually in pots in media. Now when I got them, I felt the media and I thought, actually that's okay. I'm not in a rush to repot that. I'll wait till the blooms finish and then I'll get it in my bark, which is the bark I choose. It's a high quality bark. It's rock hard. It's a sod to get wet when it's new. It's so hard. But it's supposed to last 3 to 4 years, which means you don't have to disturb your plants so often. Nonetheless, it's a media that's not mine. So these 3 pots here, that one there, the one behind it, and the one there are guilty parties because nothing else has gone in that bucket. They're mounted. It can't be anything else. So 1, 2 or 3 of those pots are highly acidic and they are turning my whole bucket off. So today I have to change all my water. I will recheck as a precaution that the water that comes out of my tap and goes through the RO unit is still staying at around 6.7, 6.8 as a starting point. Then going back to this bowl here, this is where everything gets watered. All the mounts and all the other pots go through there. And I've just had a look at my records and I've probably got a dozen plants at the moment that are on the table to be repotted but not classed as urgent. They're either waiting for new growth as a cattleya, I'm waiting for new roots to push, and I am prepared to do that with cattleyas, but this may change the goalposts. There's one up here, that's been in its pot quite a long time. It's starting to grow moss around the edge. It's pushed up new growths, it's got some nice new roots. It's an ideal time to repot it. I'll get on with it now, I've got no choice. Some of these pots have got acidic based soil in it, so the roots that are in there might look good through the side of the pot, but they're not long for this world. As soon as your media starts turning acidic, you are slowly but surely killing your orchids. Okay, so a warning shot. At first I thought I had a conundrum with my Vanda bucket, thinking where the hell has the acidity come from? But it's got to be the Phalaenopsis, it can't be anything else. A bare-rooted plant has no pH, it can't have, it's just roots. You know, that's it, you pour the water over it and it's fine. And I haven't had this problem before, but I think what it is, it's because it's summertime, I'm watering more often, and instead of emptying my bucket and starting again, I've been topping it up. So it's slowly but surely got to that state, but it's got to stop now. Trust me, if you haven't got a pH meter and in any shape or form you're using something other than pure water, even tap water can have really out of order pH values, even though you can drink it, safe to drink, it's perfectly good, lovely water, comes out of my tap, it's been done by the water company and made pure. Yeah, pure's one thing, pH is totally different. It's not harmful necessarily to humans to go right up to 8 and right down to 6. It's not harmful to humans, but it can be to your orchids. A very, very alkaline water is not that good, especially when it gets up near the 8 mark. There's a few Paphiopedilums might actually like it because they come from limestone cliffs. So just a little health warning, pH is important. It can be an orchid killer, and highly acidic water is just no good. I know some people who collect rainwater that when they check the pH, they've decided against it, or they have to start using pH balancing chemicals, you know, where you can actually reduce or increase it by adding some little chemical stuff. But then you're adding a chemical into your water. Is that good? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, highly acidic water and or pots, especially if you reuse water like me, is a no, an absolute no. Okay? In addition to that, I've got the dreaded orchid tag, haven't I? Now I need to sit down and have a think about that. I don't treat that lightly. I treat it as not an honour as such, but it's nice to be asked. So I will consider the questions and do a video sometime in the week, Monday or Tuesday, and just go over the questions, see if I can add a bit of humour in, you know me, and we'll see what we can do. But I will get round to it, I will do it. As I said, I don't treat it as a chore, it's nice to be asked, and I'll put my 5 eggs in. Okay, that was just a quick video, a few new blooms, a new plant, and a couple of warning shots. Watch your pH. You know, you'll do more damage with a pH that drops below 6 than you will overfeeding. Seriously, that's going to burn. It's not good stuff. So watch your pH. They say, although there's not a lot of science, that a good pH for orchids is slightly acidic. And by slightly they mean a little bit away from 7, you know, down 6.8, 6.7, 6.6. Around there is okay. As I said, some Paphiopedilums come from limestone cliffs and things like that, and they actually like to go the other way, and they like to head up like 7.2, 7.3, 7.4. But acidity in a pot or in your water starting out is not good for your orchids. It really will knock them for six. So keep your eye on your water. That little pH gadget was, I think, about £5–6, next to nothing. It's not a good one, but then I get enough of a reading from it, given that I know where I'm starting from, and if it moves away from that start point, it might not be 100% accurate, but it's good enough to do what it's just done for me now. Give me one hell of a kick and a warning shot. Okay, so keep your eye on your water. It's what your orchids live on. Without it, they die. And with it, they can die too. So take care. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time. And I'll get round to this tag as soon as I can. I'll have to think up something to say, won't I? Cheers then. Bye for now.